Today we are doing my 250 mile update for the Adidas Duramo 10. I've already done the initial run and I've already done the 100 mile review, so feel free to go back and watch them in the playlist. But today I'm going to give you my update after 250 miles running in this budget shoe. What are my thoughts, opinions? Do I still like it? Do I like it more or less than before? Let's dive straight in and give you my 250 mile update review of the Adidas Duramo 10. Hello, so yeah, those that are regular viewers will know that I'm in the middle of my budget shoe experiment. Within that experiment there's three shoes, the ASICS Jolt 3, the New Balance 680 V7 and the Adidas Duramo 10. Today I've finally hit the 250 mile mark with the Adidas Duramo 10, so I'm going to give you my update in terms of have any of my scores changed. And again, like I just mentioned, if you haven't already watched the initial run and obviously more so the 100 mile review, I'll give a score for each of the 5 areas I always score shoes on. So today I'm just going to give you an update on those scores, so it might be worthwhile watching that 100 mile review first if you haven't already. Today's just going to be an update, so let's get on with it. So like I said, today's not going to be a full long-winded review. I've already done that on the 100 mile review. Today's literally just an update. So let's start with the outsole like I always do. So I gave this a 9 out of 10 at the 100 mile review, and again I'll always do close-ups as I'm talking. I've done 250 miles now and there's literally no sign of wear and tear. This is probably one of the best outsoles I've had on shoes, and any shoe of any budget, of any price. Again, I'll go on durability in a little bit, but in terms of the outsole, it's going to last and last. The grip is great. I've worn it in all conditions, and this is kind of my preference. Grippy, but yet not loads and loads of thick, heavy rubber. So I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm going to stick with that. I could probably maybe have kept it up to a 9.5 because this is I can't find a fault with it at all. But I'm going to stick with a 9 out of 10 for the outsole. It's really good, really grippy, like I said, really lightweight. The geometry of the outsole as well is really good. It's just nice and easy to run in. So yeah, we're going to stick with 9 out of 10 for the outsole. So yeah, we'll move on to the midsole now. Like I said, I've used this shoe as part of my half marathon training. I've implemented it as one of the 3 shoes that I'm using, all 3 of them. And again, they've all got kind of slight differences in terms of strengths. I generally now use the New Balance 680 V7 for my longer, kind of steadier runs because it's the dual density. It's not particularly a quick moving shoe, so it's definitely the comfiest, so I use that one for my longer runs. The ASICS Jolt 3, again with its firmness, I tend to use that more for the shorter and kind of tempo or faster work because the firmness of the foam lends itself to running quicker. It doesn't sap the energy, it kind of just keeps you on your toes, keeps you moving. And I've tended to use this as a bit of a jack of all trades, a bit of everything, but generally for my recovery or easy days, just again because the foam's in the middle, it's not too soft, it's not too firm, it's just nice and easy to run in, doesn't really sap the energy. It surprised me with how heavy it actually is, but it doesn't feel very heavy on feet, so it's perfect for recovery days or just easy days when I'm just tick along the miles, etc. So that's what I've tended to use this for, but I've used it for a range of other things. I've done some shorter fartlek bursts in it as well. So the midsole, again, I've covered it in detail in the previous vlog, but yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not dead response. It's not particularly responsive. It's not particularly comfortable. It's just a nice solid firmness. It has got a bit of give to it. Like I said, the biggest compliment I can give it is just it's nice and easy to run in. It doesn't make you think about any negatives in terms of when you're just running. It's just like I say, you just roll through the gait cycle. And I said after my initial run and after my 100 mile review at the 3, I had this as my favourite of the 3. The other 2 have grown on me a little bit more, but I would still probably say this is, if I had to buy one of the 3 again, I would probably definitely still buy the Duramo 10 first. So it still is the preference of the 3. But yes, the outsole, give it an 8 out of 10. So like I said, this is just the update. I've obviously run now a significant amount of miles, 250 miles, 400 kilometres in this shoe now, so I'm in a pretty good position where I can give a fairly solid opinion on it. So the upper, it was probably what I felt was one of the weakest points of the shoe. After the initial run, it kind of held a bit of water and was quite warm. I felt that the breathability wasn't great. As I mentioned previously, it's made out of recycled plastics. It's kind of part of Adidas' kind of push to end plastic waste. They're trying to utilise some and recycle some plastic waste into shoe usage. However, as I've used it more and more, and now obviously now we're into the summer period, I was probably a little bit too harsh on it. Again, the negatives were the plasticky feel and the overheating. The tongue is again made out of kind of recycled coarse materials, and it isn't particularly comfortable or squishy, and therefore harder to get a decent lockdown. And the heel counter is quite rigid. However, again, as overuse, I've come to kind of get used to those three things. I was probably a little bit harsh. I scored at 6.5 after the 100-mile review. I'm probably going to knock it up to 7. I was considering 7.5, but it's still a bit of a drawback in terms of the rest of the shoe is better than the upper. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So it's a slight improvement from 100 to 250 miles. Again, just the more I've used it, the realise it's not that big of an issue. I've had no real breathability issues. I've had no overheating issues, even though we're going into the warmer months now. So it's not as bad as I first kind of perceived it to be. So yeah, upper is now a 7 out of 10, and we'll roll into value next. So like I said, I'm trying to make this just a quick update, but I don't want to bang on for too long. All the information I've kind of previously covered. So value now, I picked this up for £34. And again, from what I can see, again, value's an opinion. It encompasses a lot of different things. So durability would lend itself to value. Obviously, enjoyableness of the shoe. So if you don't enjoy running in it and it's cheap, is that good value? If it's not very durable, again, and it's cheap or expensive, is that good value? So for me, it's enjoyment in the shoe and durability. And for me, top two things I would class as value for money. Value for the score, I give it an 8 out of 10 initially, and again, I'm hard pressed, but I'm going to probably creep it up to 8.5. Durability wise, like I said, we're 250 miles in, and it looks, apart from obviously a bit of dirt on the midsole, it looks almost like new. So the durability, I'm going to go into that in a second. It looks like it's going to last for the price of it, and for what you get, I think it's a really solid kind of package at £34, and actually I can do pretty much anything in it. It's an all-round daily trainer. That's kind of what it's been pitched as, and that's what I've kind of been using it as. I've pigeonholed it into more of a recovery day shoe, but I can do tempo work in it. I can possibly go out and do a speed session in it. Like I said, the geometry of the shoe works. The lack of clumpy rubber on the bottom of the outsole works. So value, it was an 8. I'm now after 250 miles. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Again, for value, for that price, I think it does a bit of everything. And like I said, I've been preaching about how good this shoe is, and I will definitely be grabbing more Adidas shoes, and potentially even more Duramos in terms of going forward. I'm sure it's going to continue to improve. It's the 10th iteration of the shoe, so it's not brand new. It's been around for a while. It's obviously popular, otherwise they wouldn't continue to make this kind of model. So value 8.5 after 250 miles. And then last but not least, durability. Now, the two things that generally go first is more than likely going to be the midsole foam and or the outsole. So again, certain shoes, if it's limited outsole rubber, then the outsole might wear down quite quick. Other than that, if the midsole is quite soft, again, that could wear down and deaden a bit quicker than other parts of the shoe. I give this shoe a 9 out of 10 after the 100 miles in terms of what I perceived it to be its lifespan. I thought it was going to have a fairly long lifespan, and that's continued. Nothing's changed. So I'm 250 miles in, and again, zero wear and tear on the outsole. The midsole feels exactly the same as it did out the box. The upper, again, I had some reservations with it being recycled materials, but again, because it's kind of a plasticky base, it's probably more robust than a stitched upper, a stitched or a fabric upper. So I give it 9 out of 10. I'm going to stick with that. I think it's going to definitely do at least 500 miles. From what I can guess at, maybe even 600 plus. Like I said, I generally try and get my shoes to that kind of figure, 400, 500, 600 miles, just to get good wear out of them. The amount of mileage I generally run now 2,000 kilometers plus. So that's say 1,500, 1,600 miles. So I want, if I'm going to have a couple of shoes in a rotation, I want them all to do 500 or 600 miles. That would then definitely see me through the year for the mileage I'm going to be doing. So just as a final update summary now, after 100 miles it scored 40.5. I've now up to a couple of little scores, so it's gone up to 41.5 after 250 miles. So the more I use it, the more I like it. It was my favourite shoe after the initial run. It was my favourite shoe after 100 miles, and it continues to be my favourite shoe out of the 3 after 250 miles. I said I'm not a million miles behind for the New Balance and the ASICS. This has been first one to get there, 1 because it was my preference, 2 because of the nature of the runs. I've been doing longer, slower runs, so it's been easy to hit the mileage. But like I said, in the next couple of weeks, I should be able to do a 250 mile update on the ASICS Jolt 3 and the New Balance 680 V7. So look out for those as well. Like I said, drop any questions in the comments. This has been quite a popular series, and definitely this particular model has been kind of my most popular videos, so feel free to ask any questions you've got. But I would continue to recommend this shoe no matter where you are or what part of the world you're in, because again I have viewers from all over the world. No matter what part of the world you're in, if you see this on sale and you're considering getting it as a walking, I've had questions about, is it a good walking shoe, is it a good running shoe, what about this, that and the other. I would recommend it regardless, especially on the price it's being kind of sold at. It's a bargain basement budget shoe, but it punches well above its weight. I use it, I said, for fairly rigorous half marathon training. It's never let me down. It's every type of run I need it to do. It's always enjoyable to run in. It's always easy to run in. I can do long miles and my legs don't fatigue. So I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this shoe. The other two are growing on me, more than I thought they might do, to be fair. Like I said, I was initially disappointed with the Jolt 3, and I was a little bit subdued and disappointed with the New Balance, but they've both come into their own. The more and more I use them, the more and more I'm enjoying those as well. So look out for those reviews. But if you've got the opportunity to grab a Duramo 10, I would highly recommend it. I'm definitely going to look at buying more Adidas shoes in the future. I'm still exploring new brands. Like I said, I've run numerous different brands, but I'm continually exploring and experimenting with new ones. So as always, thank you for watching. Like I said, drop any questions or queries or comments into the comments below, and I'll see everyone on the next one.